There was a time, not that long ago, when this group of indie VTubers felt like the beating heart of the scene. Cozy, chaotic, ridiculously talented. There were some of the biggest names in indie VTubing. Bao, Shy Lily, Vienna, Yuzu, Trickywi, Nimune, Cottontail VA, and, of course, at the center of it all, Cinder. These weren't just popular streamers, they were huge, and they were known to fans as the Girly Pops, a tight-knit group of indie VTubers known for their chemistry, energy, and ride-or-die friendships. They shared emotional moments together, collaborated on music videos, supported each other's debut, and met up at conventions IRL. To fans, and even to themselves, this felt like the ultimate friend group. But behind the scenes, something darker was slowly unraveling. Cinder was one of the biggest indie VTubers out there. Cool, chaotic, metal-loving, and iconic for her hellhound aesthetic. But as it turns out, behind the flames was something far colder. Because while everybody else was focused on creating content, building friendships, and cheering each other on, Cinder was quietly sabotaging other VTubers' projects, blacklisting her own friends, and manipulating the artist at the center of their community to cut off future commissions from people she didn't like. This is the full timeline. Every document, every message, every betrayal that took the internet's favorite VTuber friend group and tore it apart. This is the story of how Cinder, a beloved VTuber, set her own reputation on fire and became the Regina George of VTubing. On April 25, 2025, the cracks in Cinder's reputation shattered completely. Nanoless, one of the most well-known and respected VTuber model artists in the community, released a 5,000-word Google document that changed everything. What she revealed was more than just behind-the-scenes drama. It was a methodical breakdown of how Cinder and her then manager, Red, aka Redacted, spent years manipulating her, trying to control who she worked with, guilt-tripping her into silence, and even pushing her to sabotage her own clients. I struggled a lot with writing this document, she writes, and wasn't sure if what I felt and experienced working was real or just burnout. But I think this proves that I was lied to and manipulated over the course of years while working with Cinder. Based on her experience working with Redacted and Cinder over the years, she's sure that they speak for each other. There's no reason to believe Red was acting without Cinder's consent or knowledge, she goes on. Whenever I use they or them, it refers to both of them acting as a team. The document begins with allegations that Red and Cinder were bad-mouthing other creators and spreading false rumors. Their first major target? Bao. They complained Bao was overusing their editor. Bao has been getting on our nerves for a while. She hijacked our YouTube editor a while ago and is constantly picking up artists that we work with. We've gotten to know her better, being friends with her, but she really rubs us the wrong way with the things she does. We wanted to try and safeguard our most important artist from her, which in this case is Nanoless. Red then adds, also, one of Bao's MV editors is the one that did the Boss Rush music video, and we're 99% sure she told him not to do any more with us. He continues to add on to the Boss Rush music video situation. Let me tell you the tea about the MV thing. Bao had original songs last year that had MVs by her editor, and the songs flopped. Her editor met us at TwitchCon and was saying that he'd love to work with us, practically jumping through hoops to get something planned. We managed to have him squeeze in the Boss Rush MV between his work with Bao. He says he loved working on it and is super excited to work on the next music project. Boss Rush songs blow up and he's credited as the editor. I ask him when he's free to do the next project, and all of a sudden he changes his mind and is only working with Bao going forward. No explanation. Here's some context missing since we know how Bao is behind the scenes, but basically we don't have an MV editor now for our next Boss Rush project. We think that Bao got pissed that her editor did an original song music video for her friends without her knowing, and it did 100 times better than her original songs last year, that she locked him up so no one else could work with him, and then had him make it public on Twitter that he was only working with her going forward, like a literal announcement tweet. And now she's been barking up the tree of our L2D animators and you and a nano model. It's so annoying. I don't know, man. She has a way of guilt-tripping people to get her way. This all seems to be building up for what comes next, asking Nano to cancel Bao's model, a model that was already in progress. Which is wild considering Bao was one of Cinder's closest friends at the time. Red even checks up on Nano again later to confirm, did you cancel the models? Nano replies, I did not, I'm scared to cancel with Bao. Red tries to ease the situation. She has many connections, she'll be fine. As if canceling a friend's project mid-development could ever be harmless. From there, things start to spiral. Nano describes how Red and Cinder began pushing for a kind of exclusive arrangement, but without a real contract or even proper compensation. They wanted her to only work with Cinder, and in exchange, they'd just keep her booked with outfit commissions, but there were strings attached. The main things we're looking for are for you not to take on any brand new model clients and to not make any new model/outfit with VTuber 1 again. Basically, if any other VTuber they didn't like came asking for art, Nano was expected to say no. When Nano asked for a fee for this exclusivity, Red responded, we could do it like when VTuber 1 asks for art, you tell her no, and then tell us to buy another art piece. But that's not exactly how exclusivity deals work. They wanted all the control, without any of the downsides. And their justification? More nano babies mean nano models don't have the same values anymore. In their eyes, the more models Nano made, the less special Cinders would be. Then came the blacklist. They gave Nano a list of VTubers she wasn't supposed to work with anymore, either for models or art. The psychological effect on Nanoless was real. It's hard to say how much this messed up with my mind as an artist, that by working with other people, I was somehow making my existing models less special. But it didn't stop with Bao. After Red noticed Nano had started working with Shy Lily, they became suspicious and started digging. They said it made their antenna go up. Red began asking Nano more questions. What was Lily planning? Who else was she working with? Why hadn't she acknowledged a raid from Cinder? They even claimed Shy Lily had ghosted messages and backed out of a collab last minute. And the worst part, she hadn't shout out Cinder by name on stream.
Okay. Ooh! Oh my goodness! Hello! Oh! Hello, raiders! Hello, hello! The Pyro Pop raid! Hello, Pyro Pops! What did you guys do?
If I ever raid you, you better make sure to call me Rima Evenstar part-time supervillain full-time extraordinaire, or it doesn't count. Red ends the convo with another complaint. Feels like we're gonna have to compete with Lily if she's ghosting Cinder and wants the same model mama. Nano summarizes it best. The competition they were referring to were people I thought they considered friends. When she tried to set boundaries, they didn't stop. Instead, Red doubled down with more gossip, more complaints, and more obsession with staying informed. Just gotta stay informed, especially when it comes to our top artist, never a break. It all just came off as petty. When Nano gently tells them that too much competition causes stress, Red responds, we aren't the ones getting a model from the artist of the game or sub owner out of the blue and ghosting them and refusing to acknowledge them. Geez, no one gave me the memo that I needed to gatekeep my artists and editors. Later, Nano reaches out to Cinder directly, bypassing Red. She apologizes for pulling back from the exclusivity talk and says she doesn't want to be caught in drama. She writes, but I'll understand if things don't work out because of VTuber 1. Cinder responds kindly at first and seems supportive even, but then adds, when you said I'll understand if things don't work out, it makes me feel like you're okay with not working with me anymore. Nano then reassures her, there's no point in comparing yourself to VTuber 1, you've grown so much already, I would never give VTuber 1 priority over you. Also, there's not even any model for her being discussed, I just want to sleep clear-minded. Cinder insists it's not coming from her, she just doesn't want to get dragged into drama or comparisons anymore. In another older set of messages dating from 2023, Nano brings up a line Red said that stuck with her. Not to discredit any of your work, but when everyone's a nano baby, it feels less special to be one. Kind of been getting the same feeling from gamer subs lately too. Nano admits, I thought about canceling some models because of it, but then realized it's not really fair to me. Cinder replies with what might be her most infamous line in this entire ordeal. I understand what he means, but at the end of the day, It's just business. Of course we love working with you and want to keep working together, but if you prefer to work with other clients instead of me, I know it's for a reason for you to help grow and not because you don't like me. Cinder then starts reminiscing about how she was there from the very start and how she had helped Nano improve her life 2D cutting by finding someone to assist her, which comes across as a subtle way of saying, you owe me. She ends with, but yeah, just let me know if you don't have time for me to be an exclusive Nano art baby anymore. Nano pushes back. It's important for my job to reach far, and I like working with different projects and people. I never said I don't want to work with you anymore. She reassures her that she'll always get priority. Cinder agrees. I also think it's important for you to work on projects you're excited about. I'll go through my plans with Fred and send them to see if they work with your schedule. I know he can be a little bit pushy sometimes, but it's just because he's doing business for me to grow. And he absolutely loves your work as much as I do. Then Nanoless showcases another set of messages where Red asks, you didn't tell VTuber One you cancelled because of Cinder, did you? Nano replies, no, I told all of them it was health issues. The earliest screenshots in this document are from 2023, the latest from 2025. This wasn't a moment, it was a pattern, and they were getting pushier as time went by. Additionally, Nano says that VTuber One was constantly being framed as jealous or trying to copy Cinder, and Red knew how bad it looked because he spoiler tagged messages to hide them. I think it's more like wanting her to recognize Cinder, even though it literally doesn't matter. I feel like there's this unspoken competition between them, like they need to one-up each other because VTuber One can't get along. But I also understand her point of view. A new VTuber who people say looks, sound, and acts like you becomes just as successful as you in a year. If she did recognize Cinder as an equal or a friend, then it would be like she's endorsing her copy. Or like I've seen some people say, her replacement. They share a lot of the same audience too. Like at the end of the day, it isn't about how much we make compared to her. We just want her to recognize, hey, Cinder's a big VTuber too. She got there on her own merits, just like you did. Get along. And the marketing potential and money they could make if they teamed up. I just know anything we do, she's watching and will take from or try to outdo. Oh my god, you know the spinning figure we have on stream? VTuber One figure was announced on Wednesday. No spinning figure. Cinder debuts Saturday, everyone hears about it. Figure announced, spinning figure on screen with exclamation mark figure right next to it. VTuber One streams yesterday, first stream since Cinder debut. Guess what? Spinning figure with exclamation mark figure next to it. But it seems VTuber One wasn't the only VTuber this duo kept tabs on. In another set of messages, Redacted complains about another girl. Then like month later unfollowed her on Twitter and started taking her ideas, Cinder's ideas, like the flames, and now she's basically rebranded to more of a fire Cerberus, using fire emojis all the time, shaking my head. Never did that before. It's funny because she used to call herself a hellhound, but stopped when Cinder grew past her, and now uses Cerberus or Cyberpup or whatever her lore says she is. Yeah, so it's like there was also unprovoked tweets from her like, I didn't copy anyone else for my design. My design is all me. This is who I am. Like, huh? The intention behind the bad-mouthing here is clear. It was about framing these other creators as unjust or unfair towards Cinder. In Bao's case, she was accused of hijacking multiple members of their team. With VTuber 1 and VTuber 2, they were painted as if they were the ones slighting Cinder, not the other way around. Cinder is a large VTuber, and her words carry weight, especially when spoken privately to someone like Nanoless, who trusted her deeply. And once that trust was influenced, it became easier to justify, well, she did it to us, so it's okay to do it to her. And throughout all of it, they insisted, it's just business. And maybe the most damning part, Cinder wasn't passive in this. She knew, and she was involved. When Bao read the document and saw what had been happening behind her back, she couldn't stay silent. And what she shared next made it clear. This wasn't just about art. This was about the betrayal of a friend. Not long after the Nanoless document went public, the community was already in shock. If Nanoless document was the match, Bao's response was the moment the flame hit the fuse. Bao's document was much more personal. It didn't read like a takedown, but more so a heartbreak, and was filled with sadness. Her goal wasn't to stir up hate. Her goal was simple: to defend herself and tell the truth about what had actually happened, and most of all, to clear up the things that Red and Cinder had said about her. She begins by explaining that back in March 2024, she announced one of her subathon goals would be a brand new Life 2D model. Nanoless was originally set to be the illustrator for that model. After she finished both the design and base sketch, there was a sudden back and forth on whether or not she had the physical and mental capacity to continue with the model, and in the end, the design was cancelled. Bao had grown attached to the design. She'd shown it to her friends and even shared it in private group chat that Cinder was also a part of. She opened up about how devastated she was about the model being cancelled, and strangely, while others in the chat offered comfort and support, Cinder stayed completely silent. Now, with the screenshots revealed and multiple documents coming to light, Bao realized why Cinder had stayed silent back then. It was because she and Redacted were actively sabotaging ongoing commissions and blocking VTubers, such as herself, from having access to art from Nanoless. In one instance, Nano explains to Red that she had finally cancelled the model on Bao. "I can give her the design for free as an apology gift," she says. Yet Redacted responds, "Don't sell yourself short. I think she'd be fine with taking the design and finding someone else. I wouldn't offer it for free. Maybe half price if she starts shit." Wow. Making sure your friend pays on a project you schemed to have cancelled is wild. And so, Bao begins her response, going point by point and carefully debunking the lies that had been spreading behind her back for months, maybe even years. In the leaked screenshots, Red claimed she hijacked our YouTube editor. Bao responds with clarity. Kaiser had worked with both Bao and Cinder. She and her manager Jun Mitsui only asked for one video per month and made sure not to overwhelm his workload. But here's where it matters most. On March 20th, I started a group Discord call that lasted 5 hours to hang out with my editors. In this group call, Kaiser shared with us that he was afraid to ask Cinder for a raise because he initially turned down an exclusive deal. As a friend to both Cinder and Kaiser, I encouraged him to take the deal and reassured him that it would not change our friendship, as I would never want somebody I care about to miss an opportunity, even if it meant I would lose him as an editor. The other editors who were in the call can corroborate this. That call was witnessed by multiple people, and June, Bao's channel manager, confirmed it publicly. "Hello, I am Bao's channel manager, and yes, I was there in the call with Kaiser, Bao, and Sak, and Bao encouraged Kaiser to take the raise. It was definitely something she thought would be best for him. Bao supported any opportunity or anything that Kaiser would choose to go." And Sak, the music video animator we will talk about in a sec, also came out and backed the validity of the call mentioned by Bao. Kaiser also came out adding to the situation. "I generally try to put as much effort as I can with everyone that I've worked with. For the past 2 years, I've sacrificed so much of myself to make sure that I did the best job that I could for them. Finding out how much toxicity was behind the scenes truly broke my heart." Then Bao moves on to accusation number 2. Red also claimed that Bao must have influenced Sacramore, Cinder's former motion editor, into going exclusive with her. Again, the truth was very different. In 2024, Sak asked me if he could go completely exclusive for me and work for me in-house with no credit in order for him to be able to quietly work on his personal projects and brand without having VTuber ask him for more commission work. I was happy to accept. I want to reiterate that this was Sak's decision and no one else's. And it wasn't just Bao saying that. Sak himself confirmed in a Google Doc he released shortly after Bao's. "I asked Bao to go anonymous and in-house because I had been wanting to focus on my own projects for 2025 since I had spent pretty much all of 2023 and 2024 doing videos for others and was having a lot of people/companies reach out asking me to work with them. And I'm not good at saying no to work opportunities." He adds that he just wanted to be left alone this year and to focus on other projects beyond editing for others, which is completely fair, and why he chose to go anonymous and in-house, cutting out the hassle of juggling multiple clients and deciding to stick exclusively with Bao. On top of that, he refutes another lie spread by the redacted/Cinder duo. In his conversation with Nano, Red says her editor met us at TwitchCon and was saying that he'd love to work with us, practically jumping through hoops to get something planned. We managed to squeeze in the Boss Rush music video between his work with Bao. But Zach, the editor in question, makes it very clear that the truth was far from that. They had asked me a significant amount of times trying to get me to work with them after I told them no multiple times, and I only said yes because they offered double pay. So no, he wasn't chasing them for work, they hounded him until he agreed, and only after they threw money at it. In the screenshot Zach attached, you can clearly see that Redacted reached out to him 3 separate times asking for an MV edit. Each time, Zach responded that he was completely booked for the dates they were requesting. Then finally, Red messaged again, this time claiming they could be more flexible with the timeline. It was only then that Zach agreed after repeated asks and a promise of double pay. He also refutes Red's claim that they thought Bao got pissed that her editor did an original music video for her friends without her knowing, and it did 100 times better than her original song. As Zach literally had asked Bao with Cinder and Redacted standing right next to him at TwitchCon if it was fine, and she had no problems with it at all. But the part that left him the most sour about the entire situation was how he was passively blamed in public for delivering the video late, which was used as the reason for Cinder's stream delay. In reality, he had delivered everything on time, despite working under a tight deadline, making extra revisions, and dealing with both Red and Cinder sending him key assets very late in the process. For Zach, it felt like a direct attack on his professionalism, something he clearly takes a lot of pride in. And with that, Sacramore completely debunked Redacted's lies about him. Now back to the Bao document. Bao continues addressing and debunking the jealousy narrative. One of the ugliest parts in the leaked DMs from Red was Bao had original songs that flopped, insinuating that she convinced Zach to work exclusively with her because she's jealous that Cinder's music project Boss Rush blew up. This wasn't business, it was just mean-spirited. I'm in shock and disbelief that this is the narrative they decided I deserved. Saying that I harbored an invisible jealousy because my songs flopped made me feel sick to my stomach. In late 2024, I was suffering from debilitating TMJ pain. I had to have fluid drain from my jaw just to open my mouth. They both knew this. I have always wanted my friends to succeed alongside me, and I don't know how they could say these things while simultaneously weaponizing my most vulnerable moments against me. No one watching that unfold could deny how cruel that was. Instead of supporting her while she was at her lowest, they decided to stab her in the back. And still, Bao held back. She only addressed the screenshots, she didn't escalate, she didn't attack Cinder personally, she didn't even release private DMs other than the ones that had already been showcased in Nanoless document. She ends up by saying that some of these messages date back years ago, yet she only found out 48 hours ago. They never gave her the common courtesy of talking about this privately over those years. My thoughts, feelings, my most vulnerable, darkest moments that I shared in confidence with people I thought would be by my side years and years from now may have been used as information to ruin my chances to have the same VTuber model as someone I thought was my friend, and I don't know how I can ever be the same after this. And just when the pattern of manipulation seemed limited to a few select creators, another name surfaced. Cottontail VA, a fellow VTuber and former friend of Cinder's, comes out and reveals on Twitter that she was one of the redacted names in the Nanoless document that Red had tried to blacklist. This made my stomach drop to read. It makes me very sad to have things come out like this, sending Nano and Bao so much love. With that tweet, she attached a screenshot where Red asks Nanoless, "You don't work with Bao, Cotton, or VTuber1 at all again. Models or art? I don't think you've ever done anything with Bao or Cotton before." Revealing Cottontail was targeted. just like Bao. And the worst part, she was Cinder's friend too. Another person who had trusted her, and another name quietly crossed off the list because she was viewed as competition. As more creators spoke up, as more documents dropped, more screenshots were shared, and more patterns emerged. The pressure on Cinder became unbearable. Everyone was waiting to see what she'd say. Would she own up to it? Would she admit her part? Would she explain the years of behind-the-scenes sabotage? Then she finally posted a statement, and it said exactly what many people feared, but also what many people expected. She threw her manager Redacted under the bus, saying, "Effective immediately, Redacted will no longer be managing or overseeing my VTuber activities. He no longer represents me as a creator, my brand, or my intentions. I'm sorry everyone, I will make a larger response when I'm able." This wasn't an apology, and it wasn't an explanation. It was a disassociation, a deflection. To many, it felt like she was trying to distance herself from the fire she helped start. But by now, it was too late, because as the documents showed, Red wasn't acting alone. But just minutes after Cinder tried to distance herself from the fallout, a bombshell comment dropped that completely dismantled the narrative she was trying to spin. VTuber Vampeaches, a former friend, replied directly under her post, saying, "I remember playing Phasmophobia with you and hearing Red chat away next to you before you first debuted like 4 years ago. You told me he was your boyfriend. Then, before TwitchCon, you switched it up and said, 'Just so you know, my manager is coming with me on this trip,' as if I didn't know who he was. It's even ickier reading this tweet knowing he's your significant other and that you're probably going to try to avoid taking responsibility by nuking the Red side of this duo." This one reply blew the lid off Cinder's PR move. It confirmed that Red wasn't just a manager, he was her longtime boyfriend. Cinder had deliberately downplayed the relationship, and her sudden disassociation, not accountability, just damage control. What felt like a carefully crafted exit strategy was now being seen for what it was, a blatant lie. And almost instantly, public sentiment turned against her. While the community was still reeling from the recent revelations, another document then surfaced. This one from Rain Does Stuff, a creator who knew Cinder back before she was even Cinder. Back then, she went by Tachi.mp3 and made GFE-style ASMR content. While she was already rumored to have caused issues in the ASMR space, like using other creators' scripts without credit, Rain's document isn't about plagiarism. It's about something much more personal. A long-running, emotionally charged and sexually suggestive relationship with Cinder that, according to him, was built on manipulation. Rain describes how their conversation started when he was already a known ASMR creator. At the time, his ASMR channel was bigger than her, and she was thrilled to work with someone as talented as him. He says Tashi/Cinder quickly turned things flirty, even though she had a boyfriend at the time, strongly implied to be redacted. Pretty much immediately she was flirting with me despite, as you can see here, having a boyfriend, and both of us knowing she had a boyfriend, including regularly talking shit about him to me while telling me how great it would be were I to replace him. He describes months of emotionally loaded interactions, including voice calls, manipulative mixed signals, and explicit sexting, not shown in the doc as Rain found it unnecessary, although Rain does include a few sexually suggestive examples. One particularly weird moment is when Tachi tries to justify their entire relationship by explaining that her boyfriend bought a fleshlight instead of giving her attention when she was feeling needy. He sent me a screenshot a couple weeks ago telling me he was getting one and had the nerve to use it in front of me to show me how great it was. This leads Rain to respond, "I'm very slowly not feeling as bad for him about all of this, cause it did honestly leave a bad taste in my mouth that all of this was happening while you were taken. But then, yeah, that's a bit..." It's an awkward and bizarre exchange, one that adds another layer of discomfort to this whole situation. The rest of the discussion is mostly Tachi venting her frustrations and unhappiness with her current relationship, and ends this conversation saying things like, "I don't know what I'd do without you," and "I love you so much, I don't know how to thank you." However, as Cinder's content and brand begun to grow and Rain's own channel activity slowed, he says the messages gradually stopped. In his own words, Cinder no longer felt she could ladder climb from me. Eventually, she stopped using that account altogether and committed fully to Cinder. I never heard from her again. Rain closes by saying he's not traumatized by what happened, he just wanted to provide context, but ends his document with his final judgment. She's an opportunist wherever she can find a way to be, and she does not care what happens to the people she springboards off from. At this point, the entire VTuber community is in full-blown reaction mode. Commentary is erupting from every corner, shock, confusion, disbelief. Epic memes are made. Even creators who usually stay far away from drama are speaking up. People start revisiting their own past interactions with Cinder, wondering if they missed red flags, and out of nowhere, even VShojo's General Giga posts this tweet. Just realized why an art project of mine was suddenly cancelled. Insane. Then, another Google Doc dropped, and with it, a redacted name from the Nanoless screenshots was finally revealed. Spite. Up until now, she had never even been part of the conversation publicly, but as it turns out, she was one of the VTubers Red had been badmouthing in private. In the leaked messages, Red describes a creator who had rebranded to a fire Cerberus and accused her of taking Cinder's visual ideas. She's the one being referred to in this screenshot. Then like a month later, unfollowed her on Twitter and started taking her ideas, Cinder's idea, like the flames, and now she's basically rebranded to more of a fire Cerberus, using fire emojis all the time, shaking my head. It's funny because she used to call herself a hellhound, but stopped when Cinder grew past her, and now uses Cerberus or Cerberpup or whatever her lore says she is, I don't know. He even pointed out to Spite's tweet defending her design. I didn't copy anyone else for my design is all me. Spite immediately recognized the lines, they were about her, and that's what pushed her to speak out. Her document lays out a calm, detailed timeline showing how her designs, outfit choices, and lore came first, often debuting months before similar elements showed up on Cinder. From the beginning, Spite's lore was clear. Since the beginning of my VTuber journey, it has been written in my backstory and lore that I am the daughter of Cerberus. But that didn't stop the comparisons. From day one, Spite was constantly told she was a Cinder knockoff. People called her off-brand, mocked her for only having one head, and flooded her streams with jokes and harassment. And the timing didn't help. On May 14, 2022, I debuted my 2.0 Live 2D model. But that very same day, Cinder posted her debut announcement for her 1.0 model. Spite says she hadn't even heard of Cinder at the time, but the comments and comparisons started rolling in almost immediately. People accused her of clout chasing, so she rebranded, publicly shifting from Hellhound to Cerberus to distance herself. Still, the overlap didn't stop. In July 2022, Spite's debut a goth-inspired outfit. Spiked choker, ripped t-shirt, shorts, and sharp accessories. A few weeks later, Cinder posts a very similar look. In April 2024, on stream, Spite designs a Greek goddess outfit fitting her Cerberus lore. But a few months later, in December, Cinder debuts a white and gold Heaven Okami-inspired look, complete with Greek columns in the background. Spite says this made her feel like no idea she came up with could truly be her own. Then in April 2024, Spite teases a casual new model, hoodie, choker cleavage, and bangs covering one eye. And in April 2025, Cinder reveals a nearly identical look. Not a perfect match, of course, but close enough that Spite's critics blew up with accusations. Again. Then Cinder drops merch with a character featuring grey blue skin, teal hair, and long ears. Multiple fans DM'd Spite thinking the merch was based on her, until they realized it wasn't. No matter what Spite did, people constantly compared her to someone she'd never even interacted with. Then came the message that made everything click. In January 2023, another VTuber reached out saying she too had been bullied by Cinder and parts of her community, just for having flames in her ears. They claimed Cinder had accused them of copying her design, despite no real overlap beyond that one detail. Spite never replied to that message. At the time, she didn't want to get involved in drama. But after seeing the screenshots, she realized this wasn't just her. Knowing that I was being watched and talked poorly about really hurts, especially when they never attempted to interact with me. I just wanted to be left alone and be happy in my own space. Because this wasn't just being ignored, this was being monitored, watched, and mocked by a creator significantly larger who shouldn't have had no reason to punch down. And again, Spite never accuses Cinder of stealing from her in the document. She simply wanted to show that she didn't steal from Cinder, that her work, her lore, and her identity were her own and always had been. In the wake of everything going down, Cinder's Discord server, home to over 35,000 members, was then put on full lockdown. Channels were closed, permissions restricted, and the community went silent. But the silence didn't last long. Under the same tweet, another creator stepped in, Neontails ASMR. She shared that months ago she had posted an ASMR roleplay featuring her original Hellhound OC, and almost immediately, Cinder's fans began harassing her. She writes, "Do we remember when she sent her entire following to attack me because I made an ASMR roleplay with this Hellhound OC and that was copying her? Or how about she was actively liking tweets calling me names? Of course we don't remember because she made me delete every tweet regarding it after it happened. This mean girl behavior is not new. Smaller creators like myself were just intimidated into silence and pretending like it never happened." Neontails also includes a screenshot showing Cinder herself had liked a tweet mocking her, specifically one calling Neontails cringe. I feel like if Twitter still showed public likes by default, a lot of creators would be getting exposed right now. But things would take a far darker turn as someone else, one of the most respected VTubers in the entire space, finally broke her silence. One more name that had been redacted earlier finally stepped forward and was revealed: Silvervale. The document is literally titled "I am VTuber 1", referring to the redacted names in the initial Nanoless document. That means she was the creator who had their birthday model sabotaged by Cinder and redacted, without ever knowing it was happening. Throughout the entire document, Silvervale makes a point to stress that she and Cinder weren't even friends. They barely spoke, and she made a conscious decision not to associate with her professionally or socially, which made Cinder's jealousy and hostility feel entirely one-sided. "I didn't know Cinder, we weren't friends, and we have barely talked." Even writing this, I do not understand what I could have possibly done to warrant the level of malice and cruelty shown. One of the few direct contact they ever had, a surprise photo at TwitchCon 2023 where Cinder allegedly approached her meet and greet, posed for a picture without asking, and then posted it on Twitter, framing it in a way that made them seem closer than they actually were. After that, Cinder reached out through Silvervale's manager at Mythic asking to set up a collab. Silvervale declined, telling her manager that she preferred not to do collabs. But then Cinder followed up by DMing her directly, and this time suggesting a merch collaboration and insisting they could make tons of money from it. Silvervale politely declined again. "I'm really flattered by the persistence, but I'm just not interested in transactional relationships with anyone. I hope you can understand. I will always prioritize my mental health and peace over any potential profit that would make me feel used transactionally and put me out of my comfort zone." This, coupled with screenshots from Redacted, sounds so much crazier in hindsight. Knowing that all the shit talking, the collab requests, and even the photo at the meet and greet, all of that happened before Silvervale had ever even turned them down. In one message, Red says, like, "At the end of the day, it isn't about how much we make compared to her, we just want her to be recognized. Hey, Cinder's a big VTuber too. She got there on her own merits, just like you did. Get along. And the marketing potential and money they could make if they teamed up. I just know anything we do, she's watching and will take from or try to outdo." Their insistence on being acknowledged by someone they clearly despised in private reads less like professional frustration and more like insecurity masked as entitlement. It's not just petty, it's pathetic. Silvervale also explains that she had worked with Nanoless for years and considered her a friend. The two had been planning a new birthday model together, something personal, something special, and something Nano herself had been genuinely excited about. But then Nano suddenly backed out. At the time, she told Silvervale it was due to health issues and stress, and Silver accepted that without question. But after seeing the screenshots where Redacted specifically asks Nano not to make any new model or outfits with Silver again, the truth hit differently. And then Redacted checked again with Nano just to make sure she hadn't told Silvervale that the cancellation was because of Cinder. Because they knew if that ever came out, it would open one hell of a Pandora's box. Silver writes, I am now aware that the actual reason for her declining to work with me was external pressure from Redacted and Cinder. Words cannot describe how heartbroken I was and am. What's even more insane is that the duo was actively putting pressure on Nano to cancel Silvervale's model just a mere month after the TwitchCon meet and greet. On the outside, they wanted everyone to believe they were on good terms, and in that same breath, they were working behind the scenes to sabotage her project. Silvervale then echoes a sentiment many others have since shared. I find it impossible that he acted solely on his own intentions without Cinder's knowledge or consent, given the extent in which he had represented her publicly and professionally. And what's most chilling? Right before Nano canceled the model, Cinder sent her a Discord message celebrating the fact that they shared art. And all while fully aware that she and Redacted were pressuring Nano behind the scenes to walk away. She ends the document with, Cinder and Redacted have spent years sabotaging me for no understandable reason. I have never done anything to warrant this other than just existing as Silvervale. It's hard to express how crushing a feeling it is to be talked about so cruelly and maliciously without my knowing, and to know opportunities and friendships were taken away. Now, all of that had happened in the span of a single day, and you would think that things would start to calm down from that point onward, but no. In fact, things got so much worse. Day 2 got kickstarted with Cinder finally releasing her long-awaited response in the form of her own Google Docie. She starts by confirming what many already suspected. Redacted has been my co-content creator since I began making content, and we've been in a relationship since the beginning. She explained she kept her personal relationship private, but now that it's public, she has no reason to hide it anymore. As of now, Red no longer works with her, and she says their personal situation will be handled privately. Then comes her attempt to explain the bigger picture. After years of working on everything together, his hyper-businesses-oriented outlook warped my view. I lost sight of the point. She admits the behavior wasn't healthy, but this is one of the few places where she accepts any personal accountability. Cinder says Red handled most communications with Nano through DMs. She shared a project server with her, but only for work-related updates. She claims she wasn't aware of how controlling Red had become over Nano's commissions and says, I should have been more diligent in my oversight. From her point of view, Nano always seemed eager and happy to take on work. Cinder says she never pushed for exclusivity, only that Red did, and she now sees how unfair that was. She also insists she was only aware of one creator being blacklisted, implied to be Silvervale here, not Bao or Cotton. If she'd known, she says she would have stepped in. Her early DMs to Nano, she calls them very guilt-trippy, but says she ultimately tried to respect her boundaries. Cinder also says she has no idea about recent Red Nano conversations involving Shy Lily, and that while she had expressed concerns about Lily's silence, Red had acted on his own for this. She denies knowing anything about Gary's model project either. Cinder also attempts to clarify the now infamous "it's just business" screenshot, which sparked widespread backlash. She claims it wasn't about canceling any model, but her acceptance of Nano working with other clients. Me saying it's just business was referring to my acceptance of Nano's business decision. But was it really? Let's take a look at the actual exchange. Nano says, I fought on canceling some models because of it, but then I realized it's not really fair to me, and Cinder responds, I understand what he means, but at the end of the day, it's just business. Of course we love working with you and want to keep working together, but if you prefer to work with other clients instead of me, I know it's for a reason for you to help grow and not because you don't like me. Listen, either I'm horrible at picking up context clues or something, but if Cinder really meant it's just business in a chill, supportive way, that vibe did not make it through the screen. Now, to understand what happened with Silvervale, Cinder says you have to go back. Before becoming Cinder, she was Tachi, a cherry blossom themed ASMR creator, and in 2020 she and Red began designing her VTuber persona, a pink and white wolf girl. Then Silvervale debuted her Sakura wolf redesign, and they decided to pivot. We knew we had to pivot before we were stuck with a design that would just be a copy. That pivot became the Hellhound version of Cinder, mixing Okami with metal. Red coined the name Cinder, combining sin plus Cinder. She says the similarity to Silver was coincidental and that she genuinely wanted to be friends, even drawing fan arts of the two together. But behind the scenes, comparisons to Silver began to eat away at her confidence. It really felt like she didn't like that I even existed in the same space. Eventually, she brought up the idea of no longer letting Nano design for Silvervale, admitting it was rooted in insecurity and completely undeserved. Silver was completely undeserving of this treatment. I became unapologetically evil towards her due to no direct action of her own. Now, on Spite and her design overlap, Cinder claims she had no idea Red was bad-mouthing Spite in DMs with Nano, saying, "My only personal involvement with excluding someone was Silver." She explains that her own model sheet, including the ripped shirt and shorts, was finished in early 2021. When she saw Spite's later designs incorporating fire elements, she assumed it was copying, but now realizes she jumped to conclusions. She insists she never acted on those assumptions beyond venting privately to Red. As for other similarities, the blue flame merch art and sleepy outfit, she says all of them were either long planned or coincidental, or in the case of the waifu cup, a choice made by the artist. As for the angel outfit, the angel design had been planned since 2023, and she intentionally leaned away from religious imagery to focus on a Greek Valkyrie aesthetic, which, as a history buff, personally offends me because the Greeks did not have Valkyries. In the end, she concludes, Spite never should have received the hate comments, and I never advocated for anyone to do so. Cinder also addresses the story mentioned by Spite, a smaller ASMR creator she assumed was Neon Tails, who said she was harassed for using a Hellhound OC. Cinder admits she overreacted. It was undoubtedly created using me as a reference, and I overreacted. She apologized, the creator adjusted the design, and Cinder believed it was resolved. In the final section of the document, Cinder opens up, taking responsibility for her actions and issuing direct apologies to nearly everyone involved. She admits she cheated on her boyfriend years ago with Rain, using him for emotional support and escapism during her ASMR career. I was immature, vulnerable, and emotionally distant in real life. She also addresses her growing distance from friends like Peaches, attributing it to burnout and a poor work-life balance. I've always had a low social battery. I rarely had the energy to keep up. To her community, she says she knows she failed them, especially those who looked up to her. And in her final statement, she pins much of the damage on Red's influence. The harm Red had caused with the way he viewed things is irreparable. I'm devastated that the friendship so special to me may, understandably, never be mended again. I love my job and I love all the friends I've had. Thank you for reading. Cinder. And how was this apology received? With outrage, not just disappointment, full-blown backlash. Rather than putting out the fire, Cinder's response poured gasoline on it. What was meant to be a heartfelt reckoning ended up fanning the flames even further. The biggest issue was her constant emphasis on Redacted, painting him as the mastermind behind her actions while she stood by unaware. To many, it sounded like a carefully constructed cop-out, a narrative where her manager/boyfriend just happened to be manipulating everything behind the scenes, building her brand like some Machiavellian puppet master, while she conveniently claimed ignorance. And the public, they just weren't buying it. And from a legal standpoint, it could have also qualified as tortuous interference. Convincing an artist to drop clients behind the scenes? That's sabotaging business relationships. Even if Red was the one pulling strings, Cinder could still be held accountable under vicarious liability since he was acting on her behalf. Ignorance doesn't excuse responsibility, as Legal Mindset, a lawyer, commented.
Here's what I've been saying in the VTuber community for over a year. And here's the thing that nobody's been listening to me on, And I'm going to call it out right now because this is the reason why Cinder is 100% implicated, because this is the manager. And when you call somebody a manager, you are giving them agency and authority. So any action a manager takes is as if it is an extension of the VTuber. The manager is your agent. That is your action. You are responsible for that. So everything Redacted does, Cinder is 100% legally on the line for. 100% legally through, somebody said in the chat, vicarious liability. They are a representation of you. Legally, this is why people are idiots for calling these people managers. I'm sorry, they're on the fucking line. Under US law.
People were hoping for true accountability, a direct acknowledgement of what she had done and how deeply it had hurt those around her, not her hiding behind her manager's back. And now people were furious. Bao responded, "How? How can you say you didn't know? I showed you both my base model sketch from Nano at WeebCon. We walked on stage and performed together. You were in the group chat where I shared my sadness over Nano suddenly canceling my model after we were so close to begin in Live 2D and rigging. And to now find out that just a day before I shared my sadness, this is the conversation that happened that ruined months of debut prep, planning, and merch preparation. If you want to apologize to me, please do it properly and stop hiding behind red." And then Shy Lily came in the replies with the steel chair. The absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolute insanity. The pain and mental torment you've caused to the ones closest and most supportive of you has been devastating, and I have never been so heartbroken and hurt so badly for my friends. You are the fakest person I've ever had the displeasure of supporting, reading and hearing of how you've really viewed me behind my back, not just through screenshots of your man, but also your very own messages while having to sit here and read through these bullshit lies you spin makes me want to vomit. To claim that you didn't know a single thing and had zero awareness of what your man was up to, when everyone who's shared even a single moment with you knows that you basically operate as the same person, sharing every waking moment while loving to jump at the slightest opportunity to turn into your most slanderous self as soon as the opportunity was given. Even when talking about your friends is sickening. I have experienced your own actions without Red, in a situation where in your own screenshotted words you expressed a pressure to live up to what Lily is, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning just because you consistently chose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. Just to earn the bag and compete with me over a V-Card collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. You actively lied about it to them, instead blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your ass when you realized you were being a bad friend. Why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days in that friend's career? Everything you do is out of competition through your constant need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn from to begin with. You're welcome, by the way. You claim that it's just business? Well, in the business world there has to be accountability, and all you've done is try to shove it away and admit to nothing. In true narcissistic fashion, you're only feeling sorry about yourself and your own consequences and your career and try to salvage it. I'm sorry for everyone who looked up to you as an inspiration, and I'm especially sorry for your fans. Pyro Pups deserve better. Then came Aru's testimony. We've talked about Aru on this channel before. She's no stranger to being taken advantage of. In the past, she was involved in a similar situation with another VTuber, Yakirisu, who allegedly used her to climb the social ladder while bullying her behind the scenes and badmouthing her to other creators in an effort to sabotage her career. So when Aru saw Cinder's apology, it all felt eerily familiar. And that's when she spoke out. Not because she was as directly affected as others, but because the patterns were impossible to ignore. It's clear now that I was lied and used, not treated as a friend, but as a tool. From being pushed into facilitating a collab with Silvervale, to later realizing that the entire connection may have been orchestrated, Aru's experience is another damning example of how Cinder manipulated relationships to get what she wanted, and discarded people when they no longer served a purpose. At the time, Aru thought she was just helping a friend. She attended Silvervale's meet and greet with Cinder, something that to her felt like a heartfelt invitation invitation. As someone who didn't grow up with many social invitations, that gesture felt special. But in hindsight, it became clear that the invite wasn't out of friendship, it was strategic. Cinder saw her as a bridge to Silvervale. After the introduction, she even pushed Aru multiple times to ask Silvervale for a collab, despite Aru being someone who rarely initiates collabs at all. Now I know that wasn't true, and realizing that she actually harbored resentment the whole time against Silvervale makes me feel completely used. I wasn't a person to her, just a connection. Over time, the dynamic shifted. Aru noticed Cinder no longer treated her like a real friend, and even hinted in person that she didn't like her. Aru believes this coldness may have been because she didn't push hard enough for that collab with Silver. By 2023, their friendship had all but disappeared. Aru admits she didn't know how to set boundaries at the time, but she's since learned. Cinder's apology in her eyes felt performative, especially towards Silvervale. And beyond just this situation, Aru reflects on how certain figures in the community made her feel isolated and unwelcome. People like her, Yaki, and others made me feel that the best choice for myself was to step away from VTubing entirely. She ends her message by echoing the feelings so many shared during this controversy. What I went through wasn't nearly as intense as what Nanoless experienced, but I do understand how hard it is to say no to a friend, especially when they make you feel like you're the only one who can help. The next day, a few of the girly pops go live to talk about the situation. Bao starts first by sharing her side of the story, and honestly, just sounds completely defeated.
You know, I think the point of this stream is so I can return to some semblance of normalcy after everything.
She explains that the Thursday before everything blew up, Shy Lily messaged her asking to talk about something important, but Bao told her she was scheduled to have her IUD removed that day. Knowing how anxious Bao already was, Lily chose to wait, not wanting to add more stress before surgery. It's an important detail, because Bao has been struggling with severe PMDD, a condition where her menstrual cycle causes debilitating pain and emotional distress. She's tried multiple treatments and the IUD was supposed to help, but then it didn't, which is why it has to be removed. Bao describes going through some very difficult moments at the time.
Basically just have very bad PMS times a million. I spend half the month very depressed with a lot of feelings of worthlessness. Sometimes it is so bad that I question whether or not I want to keep living, and I've dealt with that my whole life, and so have a lot of other girls. And I'm glad that when I made my tweet, so many girls spoke to their own experiences. It's very lonely having chronic illnesses.
The surgery was then rescheduled once again, and Bao had to tell Lily a second time that they'd need to postpone their call. Finally, after the procedure, just 48 hours before the Nanoless Google Doc dropped, Bao got on the call with Lily, having no idea what was coming. What she learned went far beyond anything she could have imagined.
It felt like my world exploded in the most purest emotional and physical form I could imagine. I feel like, well, I don't know. I can't even remember what the conversation was like, because I was just in such a state of, it was like I'm hearing what Lily and Nano are telling me, but it's like I cannot compute it. I cannot. Sorry, I'm. I just remember seeing the screenshots that just. When Lily told me, I immediately drove to Tara's house, and that's when we had the phone call, because I didn't want to be alone. I just remember crying my eyes out on the floor. Just... There's nothing more confusing and more painful than seeing someone in your friend group be so kind and so warm to everyone around you, and feeling that they have slowly become colder and colder towards you, and not knowing what you did or if it's your imagination. You don't know if you want to say anything, and so you keep it to yourself, and you keep hoping it's your imagination. But then the cruel realization hits that it wasn't. And it's even more worse than you could have ever imagined. And I keep thinking about how my friends waited for me to come home from the hospital before they told me. And they had to wait on all of that. They sat on that information and had to hold it in for almost a week, because they waited for me to be well enough to tell me. And even then, I don't think there was a good time anyway. Why was I even considered a threat at all? I felt like, how could you accuse me of being a thief when I spent 5 hours talking to our editor, telling him and assuring him that I would never stop being his friend, even if he took an exclusivity deal with you. And it would mean I would only have 2 editors for my channel. And like, that still did not stop me from considering your financial well-being and the success and growth of your channel, and they could not even spare the same thought for me. Like, you do not know how many times I was told to put in my Google Doc the fact that you had a significant other, and no matter how many people told me to put it in, and how stupid I would be to not put it in, I could not bring myself to put it in, because I knew that what that would do to your reputation, and you could not spare that same thought for me. I feel like I was tasked with an impossible choice. And I hated that I had to be in the position where it had to be me to say something or no one else would. And it's not about whether or not I'm right or wrong, but it's the fact that I didn't even want to be in this position to begin with. And I know that for so many people to be affected, that it was the right decision to do. But it really fucking sucks that I had to do it in the first place.
Bao then revealed shocking new information about what really happened during Numi's New Year concert and Cinder's role in it. According to Bao, Cinder cancelled on Numi at the last minute, backing out of a concert they had been planning together for over half a year. With everything on the line, and although she was in pain, Bao rushed to help her friend, taking a 6-hour flight just to fill in and make sure the show could go on. Bao really is a ride or die friend.
Numi forgave you when you didn't come to her concert, that you were planning with her for over half a year. I wonder if you knew how devastated she was. And at every single pivotal moment
where you had the choice to be a good person and a good friend. You chose not to be. And no matter how many times me and our friends try to wrap our heads around it and try to make sense of it, we can't. We can't, because every single time we come to the realization that that's not what we would do if we cared.
When Numi goes live, however, she gives us additional details about the concert Bao had mentioned during her live stream.
I want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable, but it's something that I always want to do. And there was something that happened between us a couple months ago that I had talked to her about for months, that she agreed to and was super excited about, but any other things that I heard about were not from herself, but from Red. I think people can connect the dots on what happened. If you guys are a Noomba and you were going to a concert, you probably were able to fill in the blanks with what happened. I was not upset about the fact that she couldn't perform, because a lot of the things that come with performing take a lot of, courage to get out on stage, and it's not something that's for everyone, especially if you're a VTuber who's used to being behind the screen. My issue was never with that. My issue was the fact that I never knew how she was feeling. Anything that I was told was from Red. And I just had a bunch of different reasons for why potentially they weren't going to be able to do it. It was very, very close to the date, a week and a half before, when I got told about that. And I think the thing that sucks the most about it was because from her perspective, she was talking about how excited she was. And then it was that same day from him that he said they're not going to do it anymore. And I have my music friend, Holmes, who spent dozens of hours working on the set list for me, office drummer, to perform, and we put a lot of time and effort into putting this together. And I asked every single month for months and wasn't told about it until it was at a point where we literally couldn't find a replacement. And even after that, I still didn't hear anything about how she actually felt. And I was super sad, obviously. And Bao, even though she wasn't doing good, immediately said she would fly to New York with me and do the concert with me. And she didn't have to, but she did. And I think it's been said many times that how she's my best friend, but she saw me in a state like that, and even though she was hurting, she put all of that aside just to be there for me, and to be there for me when Cinder couldn't even tell me herself how she felt. And I feel so fucking mad.
Yet even after Cinder cancelled on one of the most important dates of her career, Numi would have forgiven her, granted if it was for any other reason than business. But Cinder let her down.
I get a message from her a couple days after my concert saying that she couldn't go because she felt responsibility as I said that the number one thing that I didn't want to hear was if she talked to me, if she put business above her friends. And I would have literally accepted anything else, but the reason that she gave me was putting business above me, over her new position, and how she felt obligated to do this, a stream that she said she had to do. And I said, yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. And I think at that point, that's when I kind of felt like my view started to crumble a little bit. Then afterwards, after I didn't reply, sent a message saying maybe they can make it after all. And then getting a message from Red saying she felt really guilty she couldn't go and we want to make it so that we can be there for you. And I think that's what really caused me to want to say something, and I did. And I messaged Cinder and I expressed my disappointment, and she apologized and told me all of the reasons that she should have said instead of bringing up the business. And I forgave her, but I saw that she brought up a collab that she said she couldn't miss. And I didn't believe that, because if there's one person outside of Bao that I know would not put business over me, it's Lily. And I found out that I was lied to and that this was something that could have definitely been changed and didn't have to be on the day of a concert.
We can see here that Numi's concert was dated February 1st, and Cinder's post announcing the collab she ditched the concert for on February 1st as well, so the dates line up. Nevertheless, Numi still believes there was real love between all of them, and at the end of the day, she's mostly just deeply hurt by how it all unfolded. She ends with a line that perfectly captures the heartbreak. I've never seen somebody shine so bright, ruin themselves and the beauty they emitted like that. Now, the next day, Shy Lily went live to express her thoughts on the apology, and she's pissed. She explains that it all started when she found out she was being slandered, learning that Cinder had been making all kinds of accusations to Nanoless behind the scenes, painting her as a problematic and difficult individual to work with.
The actual starting point, the dominoes fell, when one thing leaked. One singular thing, like 5 or so days ago. It was about me being slandered, throwing all kinds of accusations around to Nano, making me seem problematic.
That's when the group realized this wasn't just isolated incidents, but it was a year-long pattern of constant slander.
Those weren't isolated incidences. It was a year-long pattern. Everything connected. It was a pattern that consisted over years.
Lily explains that she was willing to let it rest after Bao and Nano had spoken up and shared their experiences. But then the apology dropped, and the lack of accountability and the fact that she found out she was used as an excuse to let Numi down during her concert made her furious.
For her to claim she has no knowledge when I know for a fact she does, but I have no proof other than hearsay, it reminded me of that one fact, the one receipt we do have though, where she herself personally throws me under the bus. And I made sure to quote her own words, because again, that screenshot isn't public. She'll know what we're talking about. And the fact that she only took accountability for stuff that's been published and not the stuff that was kept hidden says enough for me. To have her use me as part of an excuse as to why she had to let her friend down, that very same friend that spent months of prep, hard work and effort and received a million empty promises, just because a couple days before that she wanted to reschedule a V-Card collab to, you know, make a nice big boom as a collab and sell a bunch of boxes to make some bag. People saying, why didn't you handle this private? We did once. And she's only deflecting and pretending to be apologetic when put on the spot. No proper apology from her before the crash out. None. She's only sorry when she gets caught, because she knows fucking with that friend that she fucked with will mean the end of her career. Because if you're not good standing with that person, you're not good standing with like probably 80% of the indies that mattered to her. She wasn't sorry because she fucked over her friend's opportunity on a day that she said she'll be there. She was sorry she was caught in true narcissistic, selfish, egoistic fashion.
Indeed, quietly cutting ties in a situation like this wouldn't have fixed anything. It wouldn't discredit the lies Cinder had already spread. If anything, it could actually make things worse. Without addressing it publicly, it might reinforce the rumors to others that Cinder had spoken to. People could easily assume, wow, Shy Lily doesn't collab with Cinder anymore and never said why. Something must have happened. And that's exactly why they decided to speak out, to set the record straight and make sure the silence wasn't mistaken for guilt. The Silvervale livestream, however, uncovered what may be the most unsettling part of Cinder's and Red's behavior. She showcased the pattern of bullying and manipulation that stretched back years, seemingly fueled by nothing more than the fact that both she and Cinder were Wolf Girl VTubers. What started as shared team somehow spiraled into a long-standing obsession, one that simmered behind the scenes, completely unbeknownst to Silvervale herself.
I had no idea how much I was dealing with, you know? Like, I just thought I was really unlucky. Or that people just didn't like me, you know? And to find out that, like, I've been, like, systematically being torn down for years. Yeah, I don't like drama. I don't want to be in it. I did not want to make that doc. I did not want to put it out. I was really asked if I wanted my name censored, and I wanted it censored so that people wouldn't know that it was me. But when I went back and looked at the doc, or the pictures about everything that happened, and I went back to my messages with her, and I saw that one where she was so excited that we shared art. And we shared a model, and I didn't think anything of it at all. And then I saw the fucking timestamp on it, and I just couldn't take it, man. It was so fucked up. It was so vile and cruel and malicious for no reason. Like, knowing the background behind it, I just really felt like I had to say it because I feel like that was an important other aspect of what was going on because I didn't know her. I wasn't her friend. I was just someone that she beat down progressively over years for no reason.
Silvervale then describes a really weird and somewhat controlling situation that happened with Cinder in the past.
She had this fan art of me and her, and she made a ship tag, Cindervale. She's the one that came up with that art tag. And she talked about how close our designs were and that she wanted to be wolf girls together. And it was so strange because I didn't know this person. Like, she just came out of nowhere. And the art was sweet, but I didn't want to retweet that. Like, I don't want to push a ship tag.
Following this, Cinder actually reached out to Yochi, Silver Model Mama, to ask why Silvervale's real mom didn't retweet a piece of fan art.
And what was really weird is, so my mom retweets tons of art of me, and she's amazing, and I love her so much. And she didn't retweet that one. So Cinder's manager messaged Yochi. I don't know why they messaged Yochi. Maybe because they didn't want to message my mom. But they messaged Yochi asking why my mom didn't retweet the art. Which is such a weird thing to do. Like, what? So that was the first thing in a whole slew of things where it really just felt like this person does not care about me and is not genuine, and I don't want to deal with it.
Silvervale then elaborated on the whole meet and greet photo situation, clarifying that at conventions, it's generally expected that pictures will be taken of you. That's part of the experience. But what caught her off wasn't the photo itself, it was how Cinder posted it, framing it like they were close when in reality, they'd barely spoken.
The fact that it was like a candid picture from far away at the perfect angle to make it look good, and then insinuate that we were closer, like wolf girls together, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know you. I want you to leave me alone. Like, leave me alone. And that's the reason I haven't done any meet and greets since then. Because I've been so never say anything because like if you talk about how someone gives you weird vibes, like then you just come off like petty or something. But like she made me so fucking uncomfortable constantly. She just wouldn't leave me alone. And I don't understand why she was so obsessed. Like, I'm sure there were other people that didn't talk to her. Why did it matter so much that I didn't? And like, she kept making this claim that her actions towards me were like fueled by how often she saw us compared. A comparison that she originally even made with that fan art. So I don't know why she was surprised. If you are the one that pushed that in the first place, like, you were just like a color swap of me, and you said that. You literally said, look, we're opposites, we're so cute. Like, why are you surprised? And I heard these same comparisons all the time, too. All the fucking time, constantly. I saw them in chat, I saw them in Discord, I saw them on Twitter. But I would never do this. Like, if just being compared to me is the reason that you go around telling everyone that like I hate you and you slander me. Like when I saw this thing, sure, I get fucking sad. Like, how can you not get sad when people are calling this other person the better version of you and always asking like, why don't you collab with so and so? You're so much alike. Oh, you remind me so much of blah blah blah. Like, I get sad, but I just think about how I could do better and put my little fucking horse blinders on and, like, be in my little bubble and do my own shit. Like, I would just focus on playing games and making memories with my chat and be the best version of me that I could be. Like, I focus on enjoying my streams and the career that I'm incredibly lucky to have. I would never lash out and try to ruin someone's career. Like, people get compared all the time, but no one fucking does this. This is insane.
But then came another shocking revelation. After releasing her document, Silvervale was contacted by several artists who admitted they had canceled projects with her because they believed the lie Cinder had been spreading behind the scenes. This moment really crystallized exactly why going public was necessary. Like the others, Silvervale had no idea who Cinder had spoken to or how far the damage had spread. She had feared this would happen, and now she had proof it already had. In that light, putting out a Google Doc wasn't drama, it was damage control. It was the only logical move left.
And I guess I'm really glad that I put that part in there about worrying that she had been saying things about me, because that was true, apparently. They told me that she had told them that I hated her and I was this malicious person and that I was so mean and I just hated her so much, like usually conveniently right after doing a project or art piece or something with me that got traction, and she didn't like it. And they told me that hearing that made them less inclined to work with me again because they think I'm this evil, terrible person. Because why would she say that if it wasn't true? Like, why would you lie about someone? And that happened so much. Like, it wasn't just Nana, it was so many other people. And like, I wish someone would have told me if this was going on for so long. But you don't think that someone's gonna lie to you, right? Like I understand why people didn't tell me. If you think that I'm like this evil person that just hates everyone, like.
Silvervale then shares how she had been excited for an Oblivion team model that was going to be made by the artist Limebreaker. But out of nowhere, the artist suddenly became unavailable, saying they'd taken on a large commission. Silver strongly implies that Cinder was behind it. Yet, another moment where a promising project was quietly derailed.
But even like, I was so excited for the Oblivion launch, and I was like, I want to get another model from Limebreaker, just like my Fallout one that's interactive and swaps weapons, and like we collect stuff over time, and that'll be so cool. And then Lime has a big commission and he can't do it. And then guess who that commission's for? Like, I wasn't someone she interacted with on the daily like her friends. Like, I was
I was no one. Like, why did you have to step on me?
Now you might think, surely this situation is over now. But wait, there's more. Because then came another Google document, this time from the artist Nixu. If you've been in the VTuber or fan art space, you've likely seen her work. She's known for her gorgeous, ethereal-looking illustrations that seem to glow off the screen. She's instantly recognizable and deeply admired. But in this case, her post wasn't to share new art. It was to share an experience one meant to warn other artists about valuing their work and setting clear professional boundaries. The only attention I want is from people enjoying my work, she writes. Nixu explains that due to long-standing visibility issues and shadow banned main account, she had created a collaboration system for her new Twitter account. She would offer free art to VTubers she admired in exchange for Patreon shoutout. A simple visibility for value trait. You get a free artwork with commercial rights and they get a shoutout. One of the creators she reached out to was Cinder. At first, the exchange seemed promising. Red responded on Cinder's behalf, confirmed interest, and agreed to the conditions multiple times, including the Patreon credit, and even a not safe for work variant for Cinder's fansly. Excited and hopeful, Nixu streamed the process, tested compositions, and put weeks of work into the piece. But partway through, something changed. After reiterating the agreement a third time, the tone of the responses shifted. Eventually, Red messaged her and said, "Nix, I spoke to Cinder, and there must have been a miscommunication on my part somewhere. She's okay with retweeting and commenting on your art when you post it, but is afraid it'll be viewed as unfair to other artists who draw her if she showcases the art and your Patreon. So she's okay with forfeiting the commercial rights and ability to post it that you've offered." But to Nixu, that was devastating news. The Patreon visibility was the entire reason she offered the art for free. She had emphasized those terms repeatedly, and they had agreed every single time. Pulling out at the last second from the one thing that made the deal worthwhile left her feeling heartbroken. After reiterating her conditions, Redacted responded saying they will likely be able to fulfill their end of the deal as originally planned. She then finished the piece and sent over all the deliverables. On stream, Cinder briefly showcased the art, but made no direct mention of Nixu's Patreon, despite that being a clearly agreed upon part of their deal, and something Red had reconfirmed earlier. Instead, she only vaguely insinuates that they can check out the silver letters at the bottom of the art. The word Patreon is in fact never even spoken. It was like she was afraid to say it.
This super pretty art piece is by Nix on Twitter. Nixu Art is their at on Twitter. But yeah, it's so pretty, and I'm actually going to be retweeting it on Twitter right now, so you guys can also head over to my Twitter to see it if you want to check out her Twitter. And there's some silly little letters on the bottom of the image for other things that you can see from this art, and to support Nix and check out all the other cool stuff that they got going on over there.
She also didn't show the censored, not safe for work art variant that Nixu had done, which was meant to generate interest in the uncensored version and drive traffic to Nixu's Patreon and Cinder's fansly. Instead, she made a vague gesture toward the art and told viewers they could find the artist through an old art retweet. Yes, she showed my art, but there's a big difference between showing it and honoring the deal. The worst part, Nixu streamed the process with her fans watching and cheering her on, all while pretending to be happy, even though she was falling apart inside. She ends her document with one request. An artist is a person too. Please treat your artist well, honor your professional deals, and respect people around you. And that's where we're at. A community once built on friendship, passion, and trust, undone by backdoor sabotage, manipulation, and lies whispered in the name of business. Perhaps if Cinder hadn't built her entire brand around being a wholesome, supportive, good vibes only VTuber, the backlash wouldn't have hit this hard. But the dichotomy between the image she projected and the person revealed in these documents was just too great. It left her community shaken, disappointed, and for many, utterly heartbroken. This wasn't just one mistake, it was a pattern, and every time Cinder had a chance to throw someone under the bus, she took it. In the end, Cinders didn't just lose her friends, she lost the trust of an entire industry. And to think neuro-sama predicted this months ago? It's almost scary, like Skynet scary.
Do you have many friends?
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends.
They're not just acquaintances, right?
Thank you so much for watching. That's all I got for you guys today, and thank you to everyone who helped put this together, especially the folks in my Discord. If you want to join the community, we're over at discord.gg/Rima, and it's honestly turning into a really supportive little space. If you've enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and check out my Patreon for more deep dives, bonus content, and to help support the channel directly. Plus, if you subscribe, you get to see every video in advance, and you get to have your name immortalized in my bloopers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Nanoless was originally set to... Dog, go in the Kirby bed. Good boy. Script without credit. Rain's document isn't about plagiarism. It's a... I'm losing my voice. What's going on? The coffee won't help. When he was already a known ASMR creator. At the time, his ASMR channel was bigger. At the time, his does not care what happens to the people she springboards off from. She springboards off from. Yes. She's an opportunist and Cinder's fansly. Instead, she made a vague... Oh shit. My VTuber died. Hold up.